Why did we want to organize this session? So I want to start with that, set the context a little bit. The idea for us was there are regulations, there are guidelines, the UNGPs, for BHR and the OECD guidelines have been there for more than a decade. And then there are newer regulations that will kick in very soon. There has been a lot of deliberation on it, watered down, good, bad, all of that. But one of the points of view or perspectives has always been that these regulations, these guidelines are complex, and we need experts for us to actually get it all into action, bring it all to the factory floors or the on-ground implementation. So our idea was, yes, it is complex. There's no doubt about it. If the guidelines and the UNGPs have been there for a very long time. If it was very easy, people would have implemented it and practiced it to the best possible extent back then itself. So why do we still see a lot of problems, right? So why do we still see a lot of hesitation? So we wanted to actually actually have a session where we can bring in different perspectives to understand what could be that first step. How can we bridge that gap between knowledge and action? So that is why we call this session Bridge to Action, so that we can talk about some of the simplest of the initiatives that we can take, and that, in our opinion, is the grievance mechanism. If we can set up an effective working grievance mechanism within organizations, it can be the first simplest steps. Of course, it can become complex as well, we acknowledge it, but that can be the first simplest step. Now, I heard this quote very recently, a wonderful quote, and it goes like this: if you are not listening to the people who are closest to the problem, you will not get closer to the solution. So think about it a little bit. If you are not listening to the people who are closest to the problem, you will not get closer to the solution. So that's something we want to discuss today, and how we can do that. We have a wonderful panel. If you look them up on the internet, they have stellar reputation in terms of some of the work that they have done on ground. So that is something that we wanted to bring to this session and share their experiences. We have Mr. Girish, who is Head of Sustainability at Sulochana Mills in India, in Tirupur. And we have Sundar, who is Regional Partnerships Manager at Isara Institute. They've done wonderful work in terms of setting up grievance mechanisms. And we have Tomoko-san from Japan. She's worked with some of the important companies, organizations as sustainability BHR person, and is a consultant now, and they'll bring in their perspectives from their experiences to share today. Now, let's start with Mr. Girish. You're a supplier. You have multiple factories. You have thousands of workers. Why do you think, so let's start with the why. I mean, why is the best question, right? Why do you think, before we delve more deeper, why do you think we need a grievance mechanism, an effective one, in fact, not just a make-do thing, but an effective one, and why is that engagement and communication with workers needed between management and workers?
Morning, everyone. So happy to be here with most of the like-minded people. And thanks, Prasad, for this wonderful opportunity to put our perspectives on the side of grievance redressal mechanism. So on why, because we always believe happy workforce leads to happy workplace. So as an employer, it is our responsibility to ensure our workers are happy, first of all. So directly that reflects into your production, you get a better productivity. And naturally, happy workers definitely will have, that will show in your balance sheet also. So it is highly important that we listen to the workers, and you nailed it on the first go itself, because you are listening to people who are very closer to the problem. So for you to reach the solution as easy, you've already cleared it very well. And the regulations, the newer regulations, let it be HRDD or CSDDD, or the brands pushing the suppliers to be compliant, to have a sort of a redressal mechanism kind of thing. So that might be on one side. But when all these brands or these requirements compels, we comply. But at the same time, if you initiate by yourself, you own it. So that is a sort of an approach as a supplier we wanted to take, and that's how we took we took this almost 4 years back, which is a kind of tech-based grievance redressal mechanism, which is very transparent. Any of our customer can walk in and ask for these particular details, and we'll be able to provide that. That is for them to ensure that their supply chain is having this sort of grievance redressal mechanism. But for us, we have seen a lot of improvements, and we, I'll be coming very deep into this in my next set of things, but it makes the management and the workers come very closer. That way, you have a clear understanding on the requirements of the workers. The moment you understand the requirements, and most of them, what I've seen is 80% of them are low-hanging fruits. The moment you start addressing the low-hanging fruits, that gives a sort of a confidence for the workers. It reduces your attrition, it enhances your productivity, and it creates a happy workplace altogether.
Okay, yep. Thank you so much, Mr. Girish. In one of the recent conferences, because he brought up the regulations as well, and the compulse and the comply aspect, someone asked me at a session, and the question was, how can we make compliance when we try to work towards implementing for compliance, how can we make it impactful? Now, I thought about it a little bit, and then I told them, don't think about compliance at all if you want to make it impactful. Because if you want to actually make it impactful, you will definitely comply. That's our opinion. So that's also what we want to deliberate on going forward. And that takes me to the next question, Sundar, to you. Mr. Girish spoke about why we need it. How do you think we can make it reach to the workers, right? Because ISARA does so much of work in terms of communicating the rights of the workers to the workers, rights of the migrant workers to the migrant workers. You do a lot of awareness activities, trainings. How do you do that? What are some of the best practices that this room can take away from ISARA's implementation work in terms of communicating and creating awareness within workers?
Okay, thanks, Prashad. Hi everyone. As Prashad introduced, my name is Sanarlin. I'm from ISRA Institute. I'm the Regional Partnerships Manager. So just to give you a brief introduction about our organization, we are a non-profit organization, provide independent grievance channels to the suppliers for workers to report their issues and concerns. We do receive a lot of grievances, and we do case management together with collaboration with the suppliers and also recruitment agencies in the source countries. So how we make sure this channels that are available for workers reaches to workers. I think of course the awareness, how do we make them they are aware of the channels that are available. So for us, for ISRA Institute, we believe that if we want to help improve the migration process and have a low risk in the global supply chain when it comes to recruitment and also migrant workers' rights and labor issues, we believe that we have to have our presence in both countries, and such as source country of origin, some of us say, country of origin, and also the destination countries, right? So having presence in source countries help a lot to build the trust and help workers aware of their rights and the channels that they can report, starting from the first mile, right? So starting from the village that they are from, and then before they reach out to the capital cities like Yangon, Kathmandu, Dhaka, they need a lot of support. So how we do is we work with partners local partners in source countries like Myanmar, Cambodia. So the partners on the ground who know the locations and how to communicate with the workers from those areas will do the awareness through online, through in person, if the situation is there, right? Before political situation, we used to have a lot of on the ground activities in Myanmar, making aware, giving the awareness for the workers to report their channels when they were. So throughout the process of the recruitment journey, starting from the first mile till they arrive to the destination, we try to be in touch with workers and provide training, join the pre-departure orientation, together with recruitment agencies and employers, sometimes buyers also there. So the pre-departure orientation take place in source countries. So this is how workers are aware of the channels that they can reach out, starting from the first mile. And once they arrive to the destination country, the workplace, it is very important to have the collaboration, the support from the employers, reinforcing the grievance channels that they can use, right? So workers reporting or using the grievance channels that are available. It could be like internal grievance channels or like external independent grievance channels like ours, helping employers, helping to re-communicate to the workers, encouraging them to use the channel is very important so that workers feel comfortable to reach. And that helps the employers, right? So the issues are not hidden, workers is comfortable. So, yeah.
Thanks so much, Sandra, for sharing the work that and the process that ISARA follows. Just to share more about how we do it, our initial approach was to relate awareness activities with something that workers already know and they can actually relate with it as well, like stories, right? The workers, sometimes there is huge attrition in a factory. Yeah. So the workers who are there today when we did the training may not be there 3 months down the line, 6 months down the line. That means the workers who have come in newly are not aware of the grievance mechanisms that exist for them, or may not actually go through the training, initial training, right? So those are the situations we understood are the possibilities, and we wanted to ensure that everyone in the organization or on the shop floor actually knows that there is a working grievance mechanism that they can use, that they can reach out for support. So in India, there are stories of Ramayana, Mahabharata that a lot of people know. There are stories like Aesop's fables that a lot of people will know and workers will know about. So we try to embed the simplest of the stories with grievance mechanism. Like to provide you one example, there is this story of a squirrel actually helping Lord Rama in Ramayana with a small stone to build a bridge. Now, that's the bridge to action, maybe, just plugging that in, our session's name, but we want to share, we share this story with the workers saying that your grievance is not, is as important and shouldn't be neglected at all. And your contribution by sharing your grievances or your suggestions or your feedback is equally important, like how Rama actually ensure that, and bless that squirrel. In a similar manner, if you can share, even if you're even the smallest of your grievances, it still make a lot of difference for a lot of other workers who might be going through that same issue, or who might have the same suggestion. So this is how we communicate to the workers so that they can easily relate. This story is something that they will never forget, because this story they've been listening maybe since their childhood. So this is how we try to resonate with the workers. We try to do multiple rounds of trainings with the workers, and also we try to understand what is the current level of penetration of the grievance mechanism within a factory first, even before we start implementing. So these are some good practices that we've been following, and if anyone here in the room also wants to follow this, we will be happy to share a template towards the end of it. We have it already, so wait till the end of the session. Now, coming to Tomoko-san, from more of a brand perspective, because she's worked with some of the big brands, the question to you, Tomoko-san, is when you worked with some of the big brands, what made the grievance mechanisms important for you as a brand, as a buyer, and how did you support them?
Thank you, Prasad, for giving me such a great opportunity to present here. And initially, I'd like to introduce myself briefly. I'm working as a freelance at this moment, so I cannot be here as a representative brand. However, I'm here because I worked for global leading brands to represent to Japan to support the sourcing suppliers located in Japan in the training or the cap development, the audit procedures, whatever. So yeah, to answer your question, what I remember the day I worked for the brand, of course, the initial thing is to help the vulnerable rights holders. In many cases, the migrant workers were highlighted. Then the second point is that he also mentioned that product efficiency directly achieved as a result of that. So, for example, less worker turnover rate or the defect rate may be late. So in many cases that procurement team say QCD, quality, cost, and delivery, and plus social responsibility. But what I learned recently was the QCD can be a part of social responsibility in that, like responsible purchasing practices. So that's the 2 points I wanted to say, and I'd like to introduce one case I've heard from my network. So the case was shared in more than 10 years ago in one brand collaboration meeting we held by the global and Japanese brands to share how to support suppliers in the business and human rights perspective. In one supplier with Chinese migrant workers, the group of Chinese workers reported the grievance to the hotline, saying the workers want employer to buy the remaining unpaid paid leave before they go back to the home country. So that worker is technical training intern program, so-called TITP worker visa, that allows at that time 3 years to work in Japan. Actually, it's not that work. Officially, it is initiated as the China or the Asian countries, younger generations come to Japan to understand and learn the developed skills in factory manufacturing premises. However, it is mainly used to accept the labor-intensive workforces into the workplaces. So the people contacted the grievance mechanism, the hotline, 2 weeks before they go back to China. Then, so the period was very short. Then, also, I want to explain the system of paid leave under the Japanese labor standard law. So after the half-year period from the start date of the employment, the 10 days is entitled for 1 year period. And 1.5 years later from the start date, additional 11 days will be entitled to the full-time workers. So they are entitled to certain number of paid leave. Then it is not allowed for the employer to buy the unpaid paid leave, unused paid leave, sorry, during the employment period. But employer is recommended to promote the use of paid leave to workers to refresh themselves, to have a good rest, kind of thing. But in the end of the time employment period, employer can buy the unpaid, unused paid leave. So that was the situation here. So for the audiences here, please consider within yourself, what do you think the next step if you receive that grievance in that situation? I don't want to ask the collect the answered questions, but I want to imagine this happens in your company. So let me continue what happened after that. So the brand person visited the site by himself. Then the reason why he could visit the site there are two reasons. One is that brand had the second-party audit program, and he already visited that factory premises. So there are existence of partnership, not a partnership, but relationship in the minimum level. So they know each other face to face. And the second point is that grievance mechanism was explained to migrant workers in their own language by interpreters during the second-party audit. So that was the 2 points allowed the brand to visit the site. Then when they started the visit, initially employer requested him not to remove all of the migrant workers from the production process, because that will have an impact to the production plan on that day. So he requested workers to select the representative. Then workers selected 2. Then also he also reviewed the attendance record for a year. Migrant workers and also the Japanese workers. Then there were evidences that Japanese people can use the paid leave. So that was identified in the attendance record. However, in the migrant workers' attendance record, there was no evidences of use of paid leave. That means insisted that the migrant workers were restricted to use their rights of paid leave. So that was obviously the legal non-compliance under the Japanese labor standard law. So he explained that result to the employer. Then the employer opened their mind to negotiate with the group of workers, at that time, worker representative. Then he hosted the negotiation on that day between employer and the group of the representative of workers, and they agreed, the employer agreed to buy unused paid leave until the day of the day they need to go, workers need to go back to China. So that is the story I've heard in that case. So I hope this helps the listeners, the audiences here.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tomoko-san. You definitely spoke about the action that people have taken within the brand, stakeholders, and how they can take action, how they can go on ground and verify things and yeah, work towards a resolution. I recently, in one of the conversation with the brands, there was the talk about data, and they were talking that they have all the data that they need. Then the question was, if they have all the data and if they had the perfect data, do they have processes to take action already? That is something that is missing most of the time. So everyone collects data, everyone has the data. So this is the type of action that is required on ground. Thank you so much for sharing that, Tomoko-san. Now, coming to you, Mr. Girish, you have actually proactively tried multiple systems. Not only because brands have recommended it, you yourself have spoken to a lot of organizations, tried to bring in best practices. What has been the biggest change that you've seen so far, either in terms of the worker management communication, or even by implementing any of the tech enabled grievance mechanisms? How have the workers responded to these systems? If you can share it to the audience here.
So the first step what we did was, before going into grievance redressal, we thought workers should be knowing about their rights, because they are not educated, they are from different places, and a country like India, just within some 100 to 150 kilometers, you have people speaking 4 different languages. So that was making the grievance redressal mechanism a bit tough for us to work upon, because we have people from Karnataka, we will have people from Andhra, you have people from Odisha, Bihar, Chhattisgarh, Assam. So you have a multicultural, the whole society inside a company, and for them to have a common language, it's a bit difficult. And the supervisors or people who are accessing, they just knew only the regional language, which is Tamil. So it was becoming a bit difficult for us to do that. But still, we were trying to manage with, initially with the interpreter to do that, to register. So when we started in 2021, that was a good side, like a tool by itself. So it started capturing the grievances and started allocating. There was a person who needs to be a sort of an intermediate who has to allocate the problem based on its velocity. So abuse on any case will be considered as red. So something one step down on orange, and something which is even lesser will be considered as amber, and which is a normal one, a suggestion kind of a thing, whatever it is, it goes as a green. So this was capturing, but always whenever you are just proactively going with a tech-based grievance redressal system, the provider, service provider, has to be always walking along with you to ensure we are on the right track, and there needs to be a lot of interventions from the technical interventions, which only the service provider who makes the tool will be able to do. So when we started, it was a fantastic tool by itself. So all the actions needs to be addressed, like if it is a ordinary thing, that directly it goes to the HR department, and if it is one step higher, that goes to the head of compliance. And when it's very serious, it directly goes to the management, and within 24 hours, you have to respond back. So all these things needs to be captured in the same tool with the images and the course of action, everything. So it will be something as kept as a record. But what we started feeling, it was like the technical support we were not getting from the people on the ground who were making the tool happening. So that is where, in spite of having a good mechanism, we were not able to proceed with that. So almost 1 year back, we started working with Inashi. So like what started happening was like the tech provider by themselves, they started uh, working with us, and they were running us through the whole system of what sort of grievance has been registered in the past week. So it was something like a weekly recap kind of a thing. And the new thing what we came up was a kind of a transcription which automatically translate multi-languages, let it be Odia or Telugu or Kannada, Tamil or Hindi, whatever it is, it captures and it translates into the regional language and also into English, which was making it addressing the redressal mechanism more easier. So that is where we started working on this. Initially, we had hiccups on this. So it was not, we were not able to get it just on the go. So based on the velocity of problem, automatically it escalates and sends emails to the right set of people who has to take the action. So that has made us to look actually into the workers' complaints, and we were able to address it very effectively. And all these things are, as I told you, it gets captured on the system by whole, which makes the whole system more transparent, and which is more required by the brands with the new CSDDD kind of thing. So those are the things. So it is always available on the site, and anyone can, given an access, will be able to go and see the whole course of action, whatever has been, what was the complaint, what is the redressal, and what are the steps it has gone through. So that is how we have started with that. So initially we had issues. Now I would say 90% we have just are able to look into it, address it properly. So, but still there are some small gaps which I think on the go can be corrected.
Oh, thank you so much for that, Mr. Girish. Some of the important things that he brought out is it has to be accessible. It has to be very simple. It doesn't have to be like a high-tech thing. It can be for on the supplier side and on the brand side, but for the workers, it has to be the simplest thing. It has to be easily accessible. It has to be multilingual. It shouldn't require you to have a smartphone or connection to data. When that is the situation, the accessibility becomes a lot more easier. You can communicate in your own language. So that is one of the important things that you can all take away. And of course, on-ground assistance and that technical expertise that people bring on ground to create awareness, to work on different aspects. One of the very important aspects within that, after awareness, is the resolution itself, the remediation itself. Now, Isara does. Yeah, please. Yeah. Okay.
I just need to intervene here and just tell, like, for the workers, it was not so easy for them to come and register the complaints initially. So it is something like an IVR kind of a thing. So whenever they dial a number, they expect someone to speak from the other side. So even after the automated message comes, they were just listening if someone will be speaking to them. So it took almost 2 months for us with a repetitive training.
Yeah.
Like, it is not something like someone will be speaking. You just go and just speak about the complaint.
Yeah.
So you can just register and just hang up. So it took almost 2 months for us to make them understand. And the biggest advantage what we have right now is the technology is growing, and accessibility is also far better for everyone. So everyone is having a perfect smartphone kind of a thing. So accessing to the technology is pretty easy, but making them to understand and making them to make use of it was initially a bit difficult, but with the repetitive trainings at Sulochana, we were able to get it done.
Yeah, wonderful. I think that's a very important point that you've made. You need patience whenever you implement, at least a couple of months. That's the minimum. And when you implement it, you need to patiently and consistently do the trainings as well. So it's not that you implement something at the uptake is like 40%, 50% immediately. So for you to reach that 90, 100% level, you need time. You need to invest time majorly, not in terms of money, to train people. So that's wonderful point, Mr. Girish. Yeah, about the resolution, ISARA does a lot of work apart from the awareness, also the remediation resolution work as well, right? So can you share some of the best practices in terms of how you've done the resolution, the process that you follow, the kind of stakeholders that you work with? Yeah.
Okay, so basically, as we run hotlines, we have different grievance channels for workers, right? So it is WhatsApp, like Viber, any communications channels that workers feel comfortable depending on their nationalities and where they are from, right? So, when it comes to resolution, we do work with employers, suppliers. We need supplier support to resolve the cases because suppliers have the power to resolve cases, take action, right? So in that case, it is also important that workers have the trust to share the issues that are like the quality information, right? Quality of the information also is very important. So there are cases where suppliers are not open to resolve cases, right? So for us as an independent third-party organization, we receive calls from workers and then we can provide technical support and also recommendations and share guidance to the suppliers like how to solve the issues. But there are cases where suppliers have limited capacity to address the issue, or sometimes though they may have capacity, but they are not open to do it for some reason, right? So there are challenges, of course. We have like a good listen, learn, and also there are some certain challenges that we have come through. So for the cases that are resolved, once we receive cases, it is like for us, I think the reason why workers report to us and we receive a lot of calls and messages and complaints from workers is we still do human interaction. So workers report to us through WhatsApp. We will reply to them WhatsApp. Worker call our hotline channel. For example, in Thailand, we have toll-free 24/7 hotlines. So workers just can call. They don't have to have credit in their bill, so they can just talk. And then the hotline receiver will be the same nationality of the workers that are calling. So Burmese, Nepalese, Cambodian, so on and so on. So this is how we receive cases, and once cases are filed to us, and then we will talk with the companies, right? As we work as a partners, we have to get back to the company with the issues that we are receiving. We provide the suggestions for the companies how to solve these issues based on the international standards and national law. So sometimes companies are open and then they take actions. We reach to the solution and then we verify with workers. But sometimes, as I shared earlier, where companies are not open. So in that case, we have to give options to the workers, right? And it is workers have rights to rights for their issues to be solved. So though we try different ways, sometimes the buyers, the brands also have very limited leverage depending on the I think the amount of product that they buy from the particular suppliers. So if the buyers leverage also is not helpful, or like buyers do not have or have very limited leverage, so we give options to the workers, or sometimes we work with CSOs to solve the issues. Not that all kind of issues that we are able to solve, right? So some of the issues are not in our scope of work. So in that case, we have to work with partners, local NGOs, or sometimes the NGOs that are working with the government, though we don't directly work with the government, so to solve the issues. So in that case, we give options to the worker, making workers aware that their rights and the capacity, the capacity that we have, and the action that we can try our best working with the employers. But at the same time, we also make sure that workers understand that it is not in our control to solve the issue. So, but workers have rights to reach out to other channels as they prefer, and making sure that they are empowered to reach out to the channels that they think are supportive for them.
Thank you so much, Sandra, for that sharing the process that you follow. And I'm sure there's a lot more that you can share as well, and I know it's a very short time to share the entire process. We also have a toolkit like we will be sharing towards the end, which you can follow as well in terms of resolution. Now, you did mention about the challenges, and I want to ask Tomoko-san about this specifically because we are talking about what has worked for us in terms of grievance mechanism all this while, but there could be situations where it hasn't worked, right? So have you seen examples where grievance systems did not work well, right? Because that's where the learning comes from. And yeah, what lessons can you share about such examples or such situations?
Okay, so the case I'm going to introduce is not a typical case, but I made by my own, based on my experiences. So the one example is in the construction industry in Japan. There is a very traditional system of collecting the professional independent contractor to be part of very big project under the very big construction company in the like a third or fourth tier. Then in that case, if that contractor reported to the grievance mechanism, hey, they have the contract with the third party, third tier subcontracting construction company, and here is the kind of agreement. However, the paying was late, and the absent penalty is very high, or some cases that when that contractor uses some tools on the site, the cost is charged, and it is very high. Is that fair to that? That is a kind of grievance. The construction company may receive in the grievance mechanism. However, compared to the last case I introduced, it was not covered by labor law, because they are not labor employees. However, that is under the civil code, civil law. So as far as the construction company and the contractor are signed the one contract, that is effective, nothing more than that. So in that case, it's really hard to support, because a code of conduct does not clearly mention about these contractors' case under the civil law. And secondly, the law does not, labor standard law does not cover the contractor. And also, there is no international conventions. And now I heard that the ILO is developing the gig worker conventions. So that may have the impact to the grievance effective in the future. However, at this moment, it is really challenge. Of course, the buyer team may resist to the social responsibility team. Hey, it is not covered by law. It is not written in the code of conduct, so we cannot support. That's all.
Yeah, I think the lesson here is to ensure things are there on papers in binding as well, so that you can be more enforcing. This is majorly for the brands, I'm sure, so that you have visibility into multiple tiers, multiple layers, and when you have to implement resolution, that comes in handy. So thank you for sharing that, Tomoko-san. Now we're almost towards the end of time. We have 10 minutes left, so we want to wrap up with some comments from all the speakers. Now, from the management side, Mr. Girish, for you, what has helped you and your team, take grievances more seriously, resolve them faster, and if you can provide one message to the suppliers over here, or even to other stakeholders from a supplier perspective, to ensure that grievance mechanisms work and faster, safer, and effective. What would that be? And
So when you just come to the people who are just actually on the shop floor, Naturally, what happens is if there is a grievance, it has to pass through different tiers. Like if there is a worker, it goes to a supervisor. From supervisor, it has to go to the flow manager. From the flow manager, it has to go to the production manager. From the production manager to the factory manager to the general manager, then to the management. So there are multiple tiers in between which the complaint by itself can get watered down, and the management might not be knowing what actually is happening on the ground. But this particular grievance system, where it involves the management also and the decision makers also into this loop, it creates a sort of, it knocks down all these layers which is in between. And even though that might be something which should be taken care by the production manager or something, but still the senior management knows about the grievance, what it was and how it was redressed. And still anything needs to be topped up on that, definitely the management can just step into it and do that. So what we have practically started finding out is, like, once the workers start feeling like your voice has been heard, it makes a whole sort of a difference. So for anyone, the moment you ask what is your problem, and if you would just listen, 60% of their pressure just goes to, like, as pressure relieves from the pressure cooker. So 60% of your pressure goes down the moment you start listening to them about their problem. What is their problem, first of all? The moment they speak out itself, they are okay, a bit relaxed to speak, or just relaxed to take the next action. So that itself, listening itself, has made a lot of difference. And when they started feeling these kind of things, and what I feel is, they are the one who are on the floor, they know what actually happens on the floor. And we have practically started listening beyond complaint. We have started listening the suggestions from the worker side. These can be done like this. There are some wheels in between which moves between the departments. The wheels are a bit not good. So if at all you are changing the wheels, the mobility will be quicker, so we can work better. So beyond complaints, we started getting suggestions. So that is what we, particularly at Sulochana, started feeling, that it is more than a complaint system. It is something like an interactive kind of a thing between the worker who's in the shop floor and the management. So I would say it was the real icebreaker, which has made the, and we started seeing like the sort of a talents whichever is there, we were not even knowing about that. So when we started listening to their suggestions, it was literally awesome, and it has broken many layers. All these years, these were not being listened. So this particular system has helped us to go directly to the workers, to listen to them, and address maximum of their queries. See, most of the time their things are, most of the time it is very simple. So as I told you, it's a low-hanging fruit kind of a thing. So the moment you start acting upon it, it gains the confidence. So that is how what we have seen, the grievance redressal system has worked. Beyond grievance, it has started capturing the suggestions also. So, but only thing is, the management should have the patience to just make it. So I always believe on 3 Ps. You have to, first of all, have patience to implement these kind of things by yourself. Then you have to have a patience to make it work in the way you want. Then you have to have the perseverance to continue this all along the way. So these 3 Ps, definitely I believe, is the best one to do. And yes, so always there might be some changes and additions which can come, but basic requirements of listening the workers is what it's needed, need of the hour.
No, that's a wonderful thing that you've mentioned. Just listen. Yeah, it's something that I told in the beginning of the session also. Now, there was a lady I was speaking to yesterday, and she mentioned this. if there is a situation, a dire situation, maybe an abuse or a harassment case, and if you're not listening to that person, if the channel is not open to that particular person, that kind of behavior can persist and can become a norm within that organization. So if you listen, just create channels to listen first and ensure that their voice is heard and they feel free to hear that, share whatever they're going through. Then the norm is that's been said that it's okay to encourage such behavior goes away, and resolution comes in later on. But yeah, like he said, that's the message. And another very important message he provided is internal transparency. You break down the layers and create better internal transparency. That's number 2 for the suppliers and other stakeholders over here. Now, Sundar, from your point of view, what do you think is the best way to support workers as well as suppliers and the other stakeholders that you work with at Isara, and what kind of support you have provided so far, and how can CSOs and other service providers can learn from your best practices?
So I think the best practice would be that we have to understand each other's pain point, right? For example, we work with employers, suppliers heavily, and it is not that like they are like very proactive employers, like Grishi mentioned, very proactive employers trying to solve workers' issues, trying to help and remediate their issues. But there are others employers as well who have a limited interest. So in that sense, how we work together is in having the network in the source country and then the destination country, making sure the recruitment agencies that are working with these employers are also connected. They have they are on the same page, right? The issues that we've seen often is that recruitment agencies and employers do not have clear communication about the recruitment process, right? So sometimes there are also gaps between recruitment agencies and employers as well. So in that sense, how we navigate and try our best to support and make sure everybody in the scope is having good experience is that work with the network in the source country, and then also work with employers, making sure the recruitment agencies who are working with have the same understanding. Sometimes like recruitment agency and employers contract to recruit workers also are not understood clearly from both parties. Things are written in a way, but it is not clearly communicated. Same thing happened between employers and the buyers as well. So buyers have all this very good standards, code of conduct, but employers are not being communicated. So in that sense, we try to help employers and recruitment agencies, and also be supportive to the buyers, brands, making sure that their policies and their communications are understood by each stakeholders. And also making sure that understanding the pain point of the employers sometimes it's also important. Also, while we have expertise to help migrant workers, but the pain point of the employers sometimes could be very simple, but the gap is between there because the workers are from foreign countries that they don't understand the workers' culture and what workers are trying to understand. So I think being very simple, being accessible to the employers, like being able to communicate easily whenever they need it. It is not that like once a month or something, or it has to be through email. It could be like simple. Sometimes employers just write you a message asking, hey, Sandra, I'm having this issue, workers are having this problem, what could be the root cause? And then we speak with the workers who are the same nationality of the language. So we being able to bridge the gap between workers and employers to solve, and that helps to solve the problem. So I think main that to wrap up, having the expertise to solve to handle workers' cases while understanding the pain point of the employers and also the recruitment agency is very important to help to improve the whole supply chain.
Thank you so much for that, Sundar. Now, we want to wrap up very soon. We are almost on time. But Tomoko-san, you brought in very wonderful case studies from your experience and from your perspective and what you've seen within the industry. Now, what is that one message maybe for the brands over here, suggestion that you would like to provide, one action item that you would want to provide so that they can support their suppliers?
Okay, so in summary, I think I can say that how the brand can have the effective human rights due diligence program is the key. And the grievance mechanism is one of the tools there. Then I'd like to request the audiences to imagine one car of the human rights due diligence. How the car can move effectively into the right way, so that you are the social responsibility team as a driver. But how about the whole wheels? So, for example, the procurement team can be one wheel. Another wheel may be like business partner between the brand and suppliers. They need to also understand that. Also, the other toolkit, for example, audit. These all different ways must go to the right way in the right speed with the right power of engine. That is needed to make the human rights due diligence effective. And the second point is for the brand, I highly recommend to have a case study workshop internally by inviting legal team, buyer, PR team, top management, sometimes business partners, and use these case studies. How do you behave in the initial phase of grievance mechanism coming in? And what information do you need? How do you disclose this to the media, or do you have the media conferences? And how to disclose? There are lots of failure cases in Japan, unfortunately. So that case study will help to make ready to fight, not the fight, but act against the grievances. And the third point is have a monitoring skill set within the company. So of course we have partners in the grievance mechanism or the third-party audit firm, but sometimes supplier says that they cannot see the face of brands. So in that case, to leverage the brand's existence in the process of human rights due diligence, the skill set of the monitoring and understand that help us to the brand to understand the supplier's part, and also input to the industry practices to the practitioners, professionals like here, Sandra is doing. So that is my recommendations and suggestions.
Thank you so much, Tomoko-san, for those suggestions and the case studies. Essentially, she mentioned get your head of procurements, the CEOs who are in like the Europe or in the Americas to the ground. That's when they also realize the reality, and also bring your, the finance team sometimes, or the other procurement, the legal team sometimes to the ground as well, because only then they'll understand the reality. So do that whenever possible and make it happen. This is what you have to do internally as well as brands and as brand representatives. Now, to wrap up, I wish we had more time to get questions from you. I'd encourage all of you, come talk to us, come talk to all the wonderful panelists here, and share if this has been a learning session so far. But as we wrap up, I do want to be very honest in saying that grievance mechanisms are not the silver bullet. So although we are sharing effective stuff that we've experienced and we've done over and over, time and again, and the challenges we've faced and the good things that we've experienced, it's not the silver bullet. They won't solve every labor issue, and sometimes the grievance mechanism can even feel surface level as well, right? So I acknowledge all of that as well. And having said that, the first step is to listen. So I want to end again with that same quote that I began with. If you're not listening to the people who are closest to the problem, you will not get closer to the solution. So that's the message for today's session. Before we leave, we have the toolkit. Could you please share the presentation, sir? Yeah, so we actually wanted to do a workshop style session, but we actually couldn't. This was not suitable for workshop at all. So we have multiple case studies. And this is all based on our actual cases that we've received, and it is all anonymized. You don't have to worry. So these are different case studies that you can take to your organization, deliberate on this, okay? No, of course, I'll share this with all of you so that, and then there's a template that you can follow. You don't need technology sometimes. You just have to listen, right? Listening is the most important factor. You don't need, all the processes, all the policies sometimes. So this is a template that you can follow. Now, this will be shared. You don't have to, there's a QR code towards the end. This is the QR code. So scan this QR code, you will get access to the toolkit. And also there are case studies, and then there is also a business case that you can make internally using the case studies, using the template, and the resolution process, using all of it. Thank you so much for attending. Thank you so much for your time. Hope this was useful to all of you. Thank you so much to the panelists as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.